welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow Season 10. It's been 10 seasons of empowering India's small businesses and hand-holding and guiding you in your growth journey. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. On the show tonight, two young entrepreneurs addressing two very specific needs. First up is Bliss Club. I'm also in conversation with Fyers. In our first conversation tonight, I'm speaking with the founder and CEO of Bliss Club, Minu Margaret, to talk to her about the women's activewear space. Being less than 2 years old, this brand has already managed to disrupt this industry. How has she done that? Listening to this interview. So good having you with us, Minu.
Lovely to be here.
Yeah, and it's not very often that we speak to someone who has seen the kind of success that you have in a very short period of time. You're less than 2 years old, your brand, and you've seen great traction. You've seen a lot of people really talking about your brand. I'll come to all of that in a moment, but perhaps you want to introduce your brand to our viewers who are wondering what Bliss Club does.
Yeah, we're Bliss Club. We build activewear products for women. We craft, design, and go deep into really engineering technical products meant for movement. And I think that's fundamentally a little different from how we define activewear as well, which is that we're not building for that 45 minutes in the gym, but for women, we move through the day. And we want to celebrate that movement and build for that movement.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you're saying engineered and you're sort of rethinking, I'm also thinking of the words technical and engineered, words that you don't use when you're talking about clothing.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, it's technically because also of a very fundamental way of how we think about building products, which is that we don't build width. We don't build 500 SKUs every 3 months and keep rotating it, which is how a traditional apparel brand works. But our core thesis in terms of product building is that we will build only hero products, which means that the amount of research and energy that goes into actually building a product, starting with what kind of problems to solve for, what kind of fabrics to build for. It is kind of engineering a product specifically to solve a problem of a woman. So it's not that we just have a product and then we push it out, but it is that we understand what problems women have, especially when they move, and then we work backwards to solving for it, and hence, engineering a product.
Okay, so let me take a step back and talk about the fact that you're also brand new in that sense as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Your journey as an entrepreneur started with Bliss Club. Where was the need? Why did you decide perhaps one day that you wanted to become an entrepreneur? And why did you choose this space?
Yeah, no, I think through 2019, I was very convinced I wanted to start up. The main reason for it was just that I wanted to have as much impact that I could possibly have in the world uncontrolled, and felt like this is an opportunity to get a chance to do that. So that's where I was like, I want to start up, was very convinced. Obviously, I live in Bangalore, see a lot of startups around me as well. And then kind of went down the same process of listing down problem statements, had an Excel sheet, things that affect me. One part of it was the fact that I would never find great quality activewear. So I play a sport called Ultimate Frisbee, and that was a large part of my life. And a lot of times I would pick up these activewear products outside of India, made in India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, right? So it made no sense. And then started going deeper into the problem, trying to understand how big is the market, how universal it is. And I think one thing that we're really excited about is the fact that there is a huge casualization of activewear that's happening globally, right? So if you look at the US, you have women wearing leggings instead of jeans. You have track pants,
not great
joggers.
role models, but the Kardashians, I think, are doing a great job of that.
Yeah, but the whole market, right? And just not the US, Europe, everywhere, China, Singapore. And it's just the fact that track pants, joggers, sweatpants, these are not just restricted to the gym anymore. People are wearing it, through the day, because fashion industry over the years has just been moving towards comfort clothes, right? So, so then it just came down to the fact that, hey, in India, no one's building for this. No one's building technical and comfortable products that you can wear through the day and just be in it. While we started speaking to consumers, looking at the market, spoke to folks, in the industry, felt like there's a huge gap. And whoever's building in India are building very men first and leaving a huge vacuum in terms of demand that exists for women, because technical products for women, when you're talking about sports bras, leggings, body hugging products, it needs to be great in terms of fit. We need to build for fabric, which in India with our humid climates is very different.
And colors as well. Not all women necessarily want pink, right?
Exactly. So really came from the fact that there's no one building women first. There's no one marrying technicality and comfort when you're talking about product building. And at the same time, there's a growing demand of women moving, prioritizing health over a lot of things, and felt like this is a large opportunity that is completely untapped. But yeah, that's what we want to go after, and we're very excited about, this problem statement that we're looking at.
Okay. Yours is a very fragmented market, if I can call it that, because on one hand you have the Pumas and the other athletic brands, and on the other it's a very unorganized market, where price perhaps is the only concern. How do you really see this market? If you can look ahead and say, this is how I perhaps see the market changing. And this is the segment that brands like ours and products like ours will serve. What would you have to say?
No, I think this was also the initial excitement, right? Yes, there was a huge problem to solve for in terms of the product itself, but I was really bullish about the D2C space still before maybe D2C became so known in India as well, right? And here the core thing that, yes, there's a huge, even currently India is 80, 85, 90% unorganized in terms of, very non-branded products that are selling. But there is a huge shift happening towards branded. People are looking for brands. People are looking for higher quality products. You now have e-commerce where, a lot of people are buying online, and there are very few brands that are building online first as well. So while kind of thinking about this entire problem, even the fact that, hey, we want to build a digitally native brand for women became like this really exciting, problem statement. The number of women who are now purchasing online is also growing.
Okay. Who's the target customer you're talking to? Are you talking to the young, urban, like you're saying, digitally native women?
Yeah. So our target customer is digitally native. They are mostly urban as well. But they're of a slightly older group. So it's not, I wouldn't say young, as in it's not the 18 to 25, but it's the 25 to 45. So women who are looking for comfort, women who are hacking activity into their lifestyle, women who are willing to pay for some sort of quality that they're looking for as well. So that's our current audience. But as we build and as we progress, I think what we're really keen on is kind of going down the pricing ladder, building great quality products at different price points. And that's something that we're working towards as well.
Sure. I'm not sure if you get asked this question, but for any brand to have scale in a country like India, you need to talk to the Bharat as well. Right? So is that something on your roadmap?
I think not immediately. I mean, when we talk about our vision at Bliss Club, right? We want to build for 500 million women in India. That's how we think about it. So we're not saying that we're only going to build for a certain tier. But will that be now? Will that be 5 years out? Or will that be 10 years out? Is something that we don't have a strong point of view. As of now, we know that all we want to do is build great products. And if we can build a certain quality of product that meets price points that work, that's what we want to do. So yes, eventually we do want to go down the pricing ladder, keep opening up markets. But as of now, no, immediate work towards that.
Okay, you've raised quite a bit of funding. Your last one being in May of this year. What was that experience like? Why did you feel perhaps the need to raise funding so early on in your journey? You're less than 2 years old, and just talk to our women entrepreneurs who are watching this interview, perhaps about. Was it easy? Was it difficult as a woman entrepreneur trying to raise funds?
Yeah, no, I think, we raised our seed round last year. We raised our Series A this May. I think the idea of raising around this time was also the fact that we'd seen some great traction over the last 1 year, and we wanted to double down with a lot of experiments that we wanted to do, build out a team that can take us to the next level as well, and really move things on, right? So we do have an app launch that we're looking at. So we did have to build out a tech team in Bangalore. That's not a inexpensive thing to do. We're also going offline to some extent. So we did want to experiment with a lot of things and felt like we do need capital to scale that up. And I think capital really helps grow at a certain pace, right? And we did feel very excited about the market we're playing in and wanted to kind of aggressively, build in the market. While thinking about the capital raising process, I think the difficulty was in terms of explaining the problem statement, given that we're building women first. And when you look at investors, I think we don't have as many women investors in India, right?
Yeah.
So really kind of explaining why there is a need, because it's at the surface of it may not look like it's a big problem.
Yeah.
But when you start, really thinking about what this means, there is a huge, people are constrained. Like women don't do certain cardio activities because they don't have sports bras that support their breasts, right? Yeah. Women in the 21st century can't do a certain activity because they don't have clothes for them.
Yeah.
And that is quite a serious problem.
Yeah.
So really kind of trying to explain that was difficult. But I think once we could get through to it, I think, we found people quite excited about what we're building. So I think that was definitely a difficult part of the journey.
Let's slip into a short break. When we come back, I'm talking with Fyers. What do they do and what are they doing differently? All that on the other side. Welcome back. With us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Our second interview tonight is Fyers. Good having you here with us on the show, Tejas. And let's talk about Fyers. And before actually we talk about the market and how it's changing and why you decided that this is the business and space that you wanted to be in. This is a series of conversations that we're doing with young entrepreneurs such as yourself. And I know you started very young. Before we come to any of that, Fyers is actually an acronym, right? Maybe you want to talk to us about that and where the idea for that came about.
Yeah, so I was actually trying to come up with names for a company and I thought it needs to resonate with the way we think. And so the acronym actually stands for Focus Your Energy to Define Yourself.
Wow, okay. That's very highbrow stuff. So I do know that you've perhaps put a lot of thinking into this business and you want it to be very different perhaps from all the existing players that we're seeing. And we'll discuss that in detail. Sure. So when you're saying we, I do know that it's you and your two brothers who are involved in the business, right? Yeah. Where did the idea for this business really come about and when did you start really?
So we started in 2015, but the idea to start a business like this came a long time ago because I always grew up like a creature of the stock markets trying to learn how the world works, how the stock markets work and why it works like that. That's how I got started.
Creature of the stock markets was it something that was being discussed at the family, say, dinner table and you grew up hearing that?
No, actually I was flipping through the television channels and I came across a news channel.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you to name them. Okay.
And so I try to ask people around me why these numbers are moving and what does it really mean. Nobody was able to answer my question and so I just decided to drop science in school, take up economics and learn about it. And that's how we got started. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the business model of Fyers really. What is your USP? And what sort of a segment do you really cater to?
Well, in principle, the USP is focus. Right?
Okay.
We are not trying to be a company that builds everything for everybody. So we know that whatever we are doing is specifically targeted for those who are active traders and investors.
Okay.
And we've been committed to that. So whatever we do revolves around that. Yeah. So.
You are not looking at the retail part of the market?
We are. We're primarily catering to retail traders. But we're also, these retail traders also want to be semi or professional.
Okay.
Right? And so their expectations generally tend to be different from the general crowd.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so we're able to cater to their requirements because we're focusing on them already.
Okay. So what sort of opportunities and challenges really, when you're talking to this very segmented part of the market, what have you faced in your professional journey?
Opportunities and challenges. The challenges is that they tend to be a bit unforgiving because, I mean, trading is a ruthless game, right? Like, the market does not forgive anybody for their mistakes. And so everything needs to be on point and it needs to be like that all the time. So
Because we are talking about the markets.
exactly.
Yeah.
So even a small lapse or
Yeah.
even if there's a 5-second outage makes a huge difference to these guys. And so the challenge is always to be at your best and to have your entire team tuned in to give them what they want. In terms of the opportunity, well, it's not easy to earn their loyalty, you know. But once you do, then it's very hard for them to get that elsewhere.
Okay.
And so, yeah, in terms of the opportunities, I'd say being a company that specializes in catering to them is, I think, an opportunity in itself.
Okay. So your market has been changing quite a bit from when you've launched 7 years ago to where we are now.
Right.
One of those is perhaps driven by the fact there's a lot of competition. You know, we're talking of the likes of Zerodha, Lakshmi, which caters specifically to women. We have Upstocks, for instance. And while I do know that you are catering to a very specific target and a very specific niche of this market, if I can call it that, how has this market really changed? And just in terms of competition, why should someone look at you versus perhaps looking at a competitor? What do you want to say through this interview?
Well, so see, unlike most other brokerages, we are not chasing first-time investors. No, that makes us different to begin with because the minute we start, like I said in the beginning, the minute we start doing everything for everybody, then we lose focus. And we're perhaps different because we're able to focus on those things which are specifically required for traders, such as API trading. We're known, I mean, we're quite popular among the algo traders. We're quite popular for those who trade a lot, like day traders and short-term traders, because we give them very fast order execution, extensive data to take decisions, low latency platforms and such. While these may not be appreciated by everybody, those who are in the markets every day certainly know the importance.
Okay. One of the other things that has changed as far as your industry is concerned is the pandemic. I do know that a lot of, particularly first-time investors, came onto trading platforms and started getting interested in the markets and wanted to trade more. Has your industry also been affected, and has it changed? Have you seen a lot more demand? How did you really keep pace with perhaps those changes?
I think COVID was the best thing that ever happened to the industry, frankly.
Okay.
So without COVID, I mean, we are more than 10x pre-COVID and post-COVID, right?
Okay. In terms of the number of traders you have.
Traders we have.
Okay.
But what we observed is with us, we didn't particularly get the first-time investors. We got a lot of the second, third-time guys,
Sure.
So those who've been in the markets. But the market has been changing year over year because of regulations. Ever since 2016, regulations have, and that's right about the time that we came in. So when we actually got the license to be a stockbroker, regulations started to kick in like crazy.
Absolutely.
And so it's almost like you're born and you start out in a war zone type of situation. So we learned things the hardest way perhaps, and we learned how to differentiate from the get-go.
Okay.
So yeah, in terms of the changes, another things that are happening, you mentioned competition. I think right now what's happening is that the industry is headed towards a consolidation. Although there are so many players right now,
Okay.
because of the compliances and the capex requirements, I think there will be far fewer brokers in the future.
Okay. I want to talk about funding and financing. And I do know that you are entirely bootstrapped.
Right.
Is that a model that you're going to continue looking at? Would you perhaps look at fundraising at any point in the future? Because everyone's talking unicorns, everyone's chasing valuations, and you're very different in that sense.
Well, see, when we got started, I tried to raise money from VCs as well. I was unsuccessful, actually.
Why is that?
I think because the VCs expected too much. In the sense, I was actually trying to run a business, but then I think the expectation was maybe perhaps it didn't match, because I mean it was on a completely different tangent. And so for whatever reason it didn't happen, and there came a point when I decided maybe I should focus my energy on running the business rather than chasing investors.
Okay.
And when I did that, I think what the switch happened. So we became self-sustained in maybe 2 years from then.
Okay.
And so so we thought, well, it's going on, so might as well run the business ourselves.
Okay, and that's a model that you're going to continue looking at? Would you look at fundraising at any point in the future?
Well, the day we require fundraising, we'd be happy to, but I don't know if we'll still do it with VCs. We may explore other avenues, maybe going public perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a question I was asking you offline, and I'm curious to understand, through this interview, if you were talking to someone who's been trading for a bit, but is saying, perhaps I should explore platforms like yours, why should they look at going through you versus someone else? I know we discussed USP, but if there's one line to tell them, this is, hey, why you should be looking at someone like us.
See, I've been a professional trader for years before I became a broker.
Okay.
Right? And the team here has also been in the stock markets. And so it's one thing to get a customer and just build out random products for them.
Okay.
But to know exactly what they want, because I've been on the other side of the table.
Okay.
So we know exactly what to build. See, the big deal in brokerage is that brokers don't understand technology, and technologists do not really understand broking.
Okay.
It's a complicated business. Right? We here at Fyers, we understand both. And so that's actually a rare combination.
Okay.
We're able to understand what they want. We get it. And we can also go out and build it.
Okay.
And that's what makes us different.
Out of time on tonight's conversations. If you have any feedback for us, do let us know. Our details on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.